The path into software engineering that worked 2 years ago is broken. Entry-level postings are down 28%, and AI now handles the routine coding that juniors used to be hired for. But almost nobody mentions the other half. Companies are posting more software engineering roles right now than they have in 3 years. So in this video, I'm going to give you the roadmap that actually works in 2026, built around the skills companies are paying for, instead of the ones AI made worthless. The numbers look contradictory until you understand what's actually happening. In the first quarter of 2026 alone, 52,000 tech workers lost their jobs, with nearly half of those cuts directly attributed to AI. And yet, software engineering job listings are up 30% this year, with more than 67,000 open positions, the highest demand in over 3 years. Both things are true, and the gap between them is the entire story of this video. AI absorbed the repetitive, predictable work that entry-level hires used to handle, but it created urgent demand for engineers who can build, deploy, and oversee AI systems, because AI does not run itself. IBM is a clear example, tripling its entry-level hiring in the US in 2026, with new hires spending less time on basic implementation and more time working directly with customers and systems. The change in one sentence is that companies moved from valuing volume, meaning lots of beginners doing the predictable work, to valuing depth, meaning fewer engineers who can solve harder problems. That shift also widened the pay gap because the engineers who can work across the whole system, handle AI tools, and weigh in on the big technical decisions are commanding higher salaries than ever, while the ones stuck doing only the basics are the first to be cut. Specialization and capability are being rewarded, and generic skills are being squeezed out. So the roadmap didn't die, it changed shape, and the new shape starts with the one skill every other layer is built on. You still have to learn to actually write code, and the rise of AI makes this more important, not less. The logic is simple. When you use an AI tool to write code, you become what engineers call the human in the loop, which means you're the one accountable for whatever the AI produces. And if you can't read the code it generates, you can't catch the mistakes it makes, and it makes plenty. An engineer who can't evaluate AI output isn't an engineer. They're a person clicking accept on code they don't understand, and that person doesn't get hired or stay hired. So the foundation is learning to code properly, and the most direct route into the field in 2026, with the most open jobs, is web development, which means JavaScript and the frameworks built on it like React and Node, plus SQL, because almost every system you'll ever touch stores and retrieves data. If you're aiming specifically at AI or data roles, Python is the stronger starting point. Since it dominates machine learning, start with the fundamentals before the syntax. A course like Harvard's CS50, which is completely free, teaches you how to think like a programmer, covering algorithms, data structures, and how computers actually work under the hood. That foundation is what lets you understand why code behaves the way it does, not just how to type it. If you'd rather follow one structured path than piece together scattered free resources, the Complete Web Developer Bootcamp on Zero to Mastery covers this entire foundation in order, the languages, the projects you build with them, and how to actually use AI alongside your code. And it's built to take someone from zero to job ready. I'll come back to where that fits at the end. The trap to avoid is using AI as a crutch that writes everything while you absorb nothing. The right way to use it while learning is to have it explain concepts you're stuck on, not to generate solutions you copy without understanding. The skill that actually matters at this stage is being able to read code, understand what it does, and debug it when it breaks, because that is precisely the part AI cannot be trusted to do on its own. Being able to code is the entry ticket now, not the thing that gets you hired, and the next part is where almost everyone gets it wrong. This is where the 2026 roadmap breaks hardest from the old advice. The old advice was to build a portfolio of small projects like a to-do app, a weather app, and a portfolio site. But AI can now generate every one of those in minutes, which means a portfolio full of them signals nothing about you. What gets you hired now is depth, because one project where you understand the entire system behind it is worth more than 10 projects where you only touch the surface. Going deep means asking the questions that come up in real engineering work. How does this handle thousands of users at once? How is the data stored? And how do you cache it so the system stays fast? How is it deployed so it's reliable for people anywhere in the world? What happens when it breaks under load, and how do you fix it? Pick a project tied to a problem you actually care about, because the reasoning behind what you built matters more than the specific technology you used. An engineer who built a tool that solved a real problem will always interview better than one who built something impressive sounding but hollow. In an interview, anyone can say they built an e-commerce app, But the person who gets hired is the one who can explain how they handled 10,000 concurrent users, why they chose one database over another, and how they deployed and monitored it in production. This is the layer AI cannot fake for you, because generating code for a system and actually understanding that system are two completely different things, and only one of them gets you the job. Depth proves you can think like an engineer, and sitting right next to it is a second skill that didn't exist on this roadmap 2 years ago. AI skills now appear in 42% of software engineering job descriptions, up from just 8% since 2022. That single statistic is why this section exists, and why an older roadmap that skips it will leave you behind. Companies are not hiring engineers to compete with AI. They're hiring engineers who can work alongside it, and that's a learnable skill with its own depth. The tools are now standard in professional workflows. Cursor, Claude Code, and GitHub Copilot are used by engineering teams every day, which means knowing how to work with them is a baseline expectation in 2026, not a bonus that sets you apart. But the real skill isn't "I can use Copilot." It's knowing when to trust what the AI produces, how to give it the right context so it produces something useful, and how to review its output critically instead of accepting it blindly. The engineers who get the most out of these tools treat them like a fast but inexperienced teammate. They give clear direction, they check the work, and they catch the mistakes before those mistakes reach production. The ones who get the least out of them hand over a vague request, accept whatever comes back, and end up shipping problems they don't understand. AI fits into the workflow in a specific place. It speeds up the predictable parts, the setup, the testing, and the cleanup, so that you spend your time on the parts that take judgment, which is the big design decisions and the problems that need a human to solve them. The mindset shift behind all of this is moving up the value chain from production to judgment, where AI handles the production and you provide the judgment, which is the thing companies actually pay for. The good news is that this skill is learnable, and it's learnable faster than the years it takes to get deep at coding itself. Once you understand how to direct these tools and check their work, you become the kind of engineer who ships more in a day than a whole team used to ship in a week. This is also the clearest reason some engineers are getting hired in this market, while others aren't. The ones who learn to direct AI multiply their output, while the ones who refuse to learn it are competing for a shrinking number of jobs that don't require it. All of that skill still runs into one wall, the wall that stops even strong candidates cold, which is getting someone to actually look at you. Mass applications are dead, and the reason is the same force reshaping everything else. AI tools now auto-apply to jobs on people's behalf, submitting applications the moment a role opens. A position posted minutes ago can already have hundreds of applicants, which means a resume sitting in that pile has almost no chance of being seen. What replaced it is being known for your work before you ever apply. The engineers getting hired in this market are the ones whose skills are already visible through the projects they've shared and the people who already know what they can do. That's why the deep project from earlier matters so much. A project you understand completely, that solves a real problem, becomes proof of your skill before an interview even happens. It's worth more than a long list of things on a resume, because it's evidence instead of a claim. A referral changes everything too, because one from someone connected to the team beats a cold application every single time. And the way you earn those connections is by being visible enough that people already know your work is good. And underneath all of this is the one shift that explains the entire roadmap. AI raised the floor on what's possible, which raised the bar on what actually gets you hired. The basic skills that used to be enough are now things AI does for free, so the value moved to what AI can't do, which is understanding systems, making good decisions, and owning a problem from start to finish. The engineers thriving in 2026 aren't the ones who memorize the most syntax. They're the ones who can solve real problems and use AI to move faster than everyone still doing it by hand. And learning to work alongside AI like that, instead of competing with it, is now the single biggest thing that decides who gets hired. And the Complete Web Developer Bootcamp on Zero to Mastery that I mentioned earlier is built around exactly that, taking you from zero to job ready and teaching you to use AI the way companies expect in 2026. So when you're ready to start, the link is in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.